Hey everyone, welcome to what is most likely my last video made while deployed. We've got just a couple weeks left and stuff's getting packed up. We're getting ready to get out of here. So I've already said I can't do any more custom work on knives because all that stuff's packed up. But as I've been working on stuff and posting videos and getting more involved sort of in this community, a lot of people ask me why I love Benchmade knives so much, and I really do. And I've made that totally clear in every single video. I am a huge fan of Benchmade knives, and there's a lot of reasons. Number one, I believe in their quality, I believe in their construction, I believe in their philosophy of use, I believe in their philosophy of design. I just think Benchmades are really well put together knives, and there are some that, also I think are kind of really works of art. If you've taken a look at some of the knives in the gold class, I don't have any. That's a little bit to invest in a knife you're not actually going to take out and use. And if you're walking around with a gold class knife, EDCing it and using it, you need to think about it. I really do think that Benchmade puts out some of the best knives in the world. I know there are better ones in terms of materials. I know there are much more affordable knives out there. I really think that for the money you pay, in 99% of the cases, you can't beat a Benchmade knife. So what I wanted to do is put together a little video, just based on one guy's humble opinion, of the top 5 Benchmade knives when you compare quality and use and value to the price you're paying for it. So I've been thinking about it, and I made my selections, and that's what we're doing here today. In terms of Benchmade, they make some excellent hard use knives. Really good. This is one of my newest and one of my favorite is the 2750. This is a fantastic knife, especially if you're going to use it out in the military environment. The auto access system it's phenomenal. You can use it one-fingered instead of using both. You get a great blade on there, big old chunk of D2 steel, great handle, whatever. But the thing is, carrying this around day to day is not the best idea. Number one, the price you pay for this versus its use is kind of limited. This is a great field knife, but it's not a very good EDC knife. So when I put together my list of knives, I really did kind of qualify the knives that you can carry around and you can use in multiple places, you can use in different environments, you can take it out into the field, you can use it EDC walking around the mall if you wanted to. And then again, in terms of price, it's not going to break the bank, and what you're paying for really is a good value. So I'm going to jump right into it. Yes, I said I made 5 selections, and you see more than 5 things out here. I promise I'll get to that. I can count, I swear to God. Anyway, we're going to start with the Benchmade Model 580 Barrage. So why did the 580 make the list? Well, number one, it's a good all-purpose knife. To go over the specs, you've got a 154 cm drop point blade. It's 3.6 inches long. Overall length on this is 8.35 inches. It has the Axis Assist system, which is a step up from the old Benchmade nitrous system as far as I'm concerned. The Axis Assist system uses a coil spring inside the blade itself rather than those ridiculous torsion bars of the nitrous. It has a built-in integral lock so that you can't activate it if you don't want to, if you don't want this thing to pop out. But when you do want it, it's very crisp action. It's a very strong spring. It doesn't wear out very easily. And if you're in the market for a spring assist knife, you're getting a pretty good one. Now, I personally believe that Benchmade's the way they're made and all, you don't need a spring assist on these knives. They're smooth. You can, with just especially an Axis, which you can very easily utilize single-handed, you don't need the spring assist, but this is on the list, and this is my number 5, with number 1 being the best, because it does give you that spring assist option. The blade is really good. You've got the option of a Tonto blade in the 583 or the drop point in the 580, and of course they both come in satin finish or black coating finish, and they both are serrated and non-serrated. You get your standard Benchmade clip, and I love the Axis. And being a lover of Warren Osborne designs, this doesn't fit in with his usual style that I like so much, but he did design this knife, and he did a great job. The knife is pretty light. It's 4.2 ounces. Retail price on the Benchmade website goes anywhere from $145 for the satin finish blade all the way to $160, and that's whether it's the 580 or the 583. No, $160 for the black coated blades. I have found them much cheaper. I'm going to quote the Benchmade.com retail price just to give you an idea, but I picked this one up for under $120. I think I got it on Amazon.com, and I got it a while ago when it was still relatively new, so it's even cheaper now. But this knife will give you a lot of really good service. You can see it's kind of beat up. I've carried this one around a lot. And if you're looking for a spring assist knife and you're looking for a good knife that you can take out in the field and use EDC as well, this is a pretty good option. So next, the Benchmade Model 522 Presidio Ultra. The regular Presidio model knife is a really good knife, but it's very heavy. And it fits more into that tactical field knife area, I think, than the 522 does. I put up a video about the 522 once upon a time just to really describe the difference between the 522 and the 520. The 522 is the lighter weight, cheaper cost version of that knife. First of all, you've got your axis system, so you're looking at good one-handed action, opening and closing with thumb studs if you choose to open it that way. The handle is plastic, which I'm never a fan of, but it's got great texturing on it. It gives you a really good grip, and it helps make it a lot lighter. You've got a 440C stainless blade, which is one of the major detracting factors to a lot of people about this knife. It's a very thin, very light blade. But again, remember, this is designed to be a lower cost, lighter weight knife. Blade length is 3.47 inches. The overall length, 8.25 inches. Again, axis lock. Weighs 4.8 ounces. This is a pretty solid knife. And, I'll put a link to my original video somewhere down in this area right here, because I talked all about this knife, and I have a lot of experience with this knife. And this is a great utility knife. This knife can be beat up. You can, do just about anything you need with it. And yes, it's light enough that you can carry it EDC. It's compact enough. It's not that wide. It'll fit in your pocket. And it's a good choice. Now, on the Benchmade site, again, retail is $110 to $125 for the satin finish versus the BK coating on there. I picked this one up for less than $80. So you can find them a lot cheaper. You're not going to find the Model 520 for that cheap at all, because it's got a machined aluminum handle and it's anodized and everything like that. So this is a great option if you want kind of a cheaper Benchmade. The reason I put it in the scale above the 580 is just because of the savings. Because in reality, what are we going to do day to day with an EDC knife that we need a 154 CM blade that we're not going to do with a 440C blade? I understand the differences, and I understand why it's a better steel, but for just a general utility knife, this is going to suit you just fine. Just fine. Next, we're going to go to another Warren Osborne design. This has more of the classic styling of Warren Osborne that I love so much. This is the Benchmade Model 940. This is actually the smallest knife we're looking at today, and that's one of its major features. 940, another axis lock. Oh, look at that. What a surprise. In fact, every knife I'm talking about here has the axis lock on it. The 940 is a very small, lightweight axis lock. It's got the Warren Osborne almost signature, the way he uses it, modified reverse tanto design, which it's a blade style that I absolutely love. The way that it's designed, you can see to save weight, they cut a really nice swedge in there, but it gets thick right at the tip over here at the point, so you have some really good penetrating power if you need it, but it also gives you a really nice big belly for cutting. It gives you some really nice little serrations over there, and it looks really, really nice. Okay, the 940 also comes in a black coating or a satin coating. I just kind of like it with the satin coating. It also comes in a clip point blade, the 943, and same specs pretty much, just a slightly shorter blade. The handle here is anodized aluminum. Very lightweight, feels good. It's got some kind of stylish titanium backspacer in there or whatever, and stainless steel liners. I like the way the handle feels. I'm not a big fan of metal handles either. I really prefer G10 or something like that, because I feel like it just gives you better grip in most situations. But as aluminum handles go, this one's fairly grippy. One of the big pluses of this is you got an S30V blade, so you're getting some of the most premium steel out there. 3.4 inches on the blade and 7.87 inches for the knife overall. So you've got the good one-handed option anytime you need to use it. And you've got your regular old thumb studs too. This knife is super smooth. I mean, right out of the box, it opens super smooth, and it feels really good in your hand. 2.9 ounces on the weight, which makes it the lightest knife we're looking at here, which is what I think makes it a really good EDC choice. And this knife, is strong enough and it's durable enough that you can carry this around in a tactical environment if you wanted to. Not the best choice for that, but it will switch on and off between EDC and tactical, so that's kind of why it's on my list as well. So you've all heard me rave about the Benchmade Model 810 Contigo, which is like the very big brother of this knife with the reverse tanto blade, also designed by Warren Osborne. The Benchmade 950 Rift, which is kind of the middle child in between the 940 and the 810, and then you've got this guy. So amazing option, especially considering the blade steel. Something else I really like about this, you're not losing any length on the blade. 3.4 inches, which is a pretty good average EDC blade length, but it's a lot slimmer, which saves weight, makes it a much smaller knife. And in reality, do you really need a blade that's this wide when you can have a blade that's that wide? I mean, the functionality is just the same. So this made my list, and I really like this. And I, in fact, have a limited edition one of these. I can't remember where I got it, but just because I love the knife so much, just the look of it, it sits on a shelf on display. Benchmade website retails this $210 to $225, satin finish. to black coating. But again, knifeworks.com, I know you can pick one of these things up for 150 or less. So, you know, don't let the price tag on benchmade.com scare you. If you look around, you'll find one of these for a really great price. There's also, by the way, a bunch of special edition of these floating out there. They've been made with different blade steels, 154 cm, 440, I think there's an M391, and different colored handles. I've seen a red, I've seen a black, I've seen a blue. So, I mean, there's a lot of different options if you're looking for this particular knife to suit all your needs. Next on the list, number 2, the runner-up, the Doug Ritter Model 552 Griptilian. I just got this recently, and I have loved it every step of the way. You'll notice there are no other Griptilians on this list. The Griptilian, I feel, is a decent EDC knife. I guess you could use it in a survival situation, but tactical-wise, I don't find the Griptilian to be suitable as a tactical knife for a few different reasons. But the Doug Ritter really takes care of some of those problems. The one thing it doesn't fix, again, plastic handle. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I also don't like the way that it's put together because you don't even have the option to make some scales or buy some custom scales for this in something else. Whereas every other knife on this list has scales over liners. This has liners that are inset to these plastic handles, and the plastic handles are actually screwed together. There's the insides are tapped for the screws directly, so doesn't give you a lot of options. But the standard Griptilian is 154 cm steel, and it comes in a drop point blade, it comes in a Tonto blade, it comes in a modified sheep's foot. The Doug Ritter Griptilian, the Model 552, which is available, I think, only at knifeworks.com, comes with an S30V blade. It's a lot bigger of a drop point blade than any other Benchmade knife in terms of just, you know, the chord of the knife, the width to the length. And on the length, you're looking at 3.44 inches, 8.06 inches overall. Axis lock, as always. 3.82 ounces for the weight. But the thing that makes this knife stand out is that the blade you're getting, and again, I have another video out there somewhere where I'm comparing this blade to the blade of a Strider SNG. It's very similar. It's S30V steel. It's almost as thick. It's almost the same shape and length. So it really is kind of like getting a Strider on a budget. I've used this blade just a little bit. By the way, I want to point out beautiful stonewash on this blade. It looks really great. I've used it a little bit, haven't had a chance to carry it too much, but I've been perfectly happy with it. It hasn't failed me cutting rope and just cutting some random materials. It cut right through an apple with ease, if that makes anybody feel good about EDCing it. But, you know, it's got the general Griptilian shape and feel, and there's nothing wrong with the feel of Griptilian. I think the handle's made really well in terms of shape and grip. It's just the materials I can't stand. This jimping really doesn't do much, but the jimping on the blade itself is very effective, so that helps out a lot. So the Doug Ritter Griptilian Model 552, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're looking and you want like a Strider SNG type knife and you want to save yourself some significant amounts of money, look into this. This is $119, and flat out $119 on knifeworks.com, $112 for the mini Griptilian model. Very much worth the money, and this would have been the #1 knife on my little list of the 5 most value Benchmades if it wasn't for one thing. You're getting one cutting surface on this and one cutting surface only, and that leads us into the #1. I started my military career as a cavalry scout, and then as a combat medic. I spent significant amounts of time as a paramedic in New York City. I worked in an emergency room. I've been a military medic and in military medicine. Even now that I have a different job, I still dabble back in the medical world and help out. So I really understand the value of a good rescue type knife. One of the things I always used to carry, and you're going to see this on rescue personnel, anybody in the military that's airborne probably has one of these too. Might not necessarily be Benchmade, but this is the 7-hook, and they actually have a larger model than this too. This is a fantastic tool to carry around. This is great for cutting through clothing, for cutting through seat belts, for cutting through rope, for cutting through anything that you need to really just slice your way through. It's very light, it gives you a really good cutting surface, and it makes it a lot easier a lot of the time. And what I used to use this for primarily is if you're airborne, you use this to cut risers if you get stuck in a tree or something. It also slices right through nylon webbing if you need to take that off a harness or something and use it for whatever. But in a rescue environment, cutting through a seatbelt, cutting through a harness, holding somebody to something, and you can see this has gotten a lot of use. Cutting through clothing if you are doing medical procedures and you need to expose an injury to treat it. So this is great, but it's one more item you have to carry around when you have this and the rest of your gear and your knife. And I'm really glad. There are a lot of knives. SOG makes some that have integral cutters in them, but they're really not that good. The quality on them mostly sucks. Benchmade fixed that when they came out with the 915 and 916 triage models. And I have one of each. That's why there's 2 knives here so I can demonstrate. Were designed specifically with rescue personnel in mind and those military professionals that need, a little bit of an extra. So to start off with, you're getting an N680 blade, N680 being a higher end steel in terms of corrosion resistance and resiliency. In Rockwell hardness and everything, not very different than 154 CM, but much better in terms of resisting corrosion and all sorts of stuff like that. It comes in two blade shapes. This is the modified sheep's foot, which we're going to talk about first on the model 915. Okay. Mine, again, has gotten a fair amount of use. This knife was knife of the year when it came out and everything. It has a carbide glass breaker, window punch on the back of it, and it incorporates a 440C line cutter. So this one tool gives you actually three tools in one, especially for a rescue professional. Overall, the blade length on both the 915 and 16 we're going to look at are 3.5 inches, overall length 8.2 inches. That does not include the length of this cutter. That's just from end to end without the cutter open. 5.1 ounces, so a little bit heavier than you might like. It's actually one of the smoothest opening Benchmades I've ever had. It seems to want to snap open and closed all on its own. Just a little bit of pressure, and the way the axis is worked into that blade, it's damn near perfect. I absolutely love this knife. Comes in orange and black, and then the blade, of course, satin, serrated or not serrated, and the black finish. These knives do have an NSN number issued by the military. Me and my buddy, he only let me use his knife for the video if I promised to mention him in the video. So Kevin Gibbons, thank you very much for allowing me to use your model 916. I've got the 915, he's got the 916. You can see the big difference is that the 916 has this opposing bevel blade. This is a much better knife for actual rescue purposes, by the way. Now, EDC and tactical use, I'm going to go with the modified sheep's foot. But if you're using this primarily as a rescue tool, there's no way you're going to accidentally cut somebody up with this. The really sad part is that you don't know how many military people look at this and their first response is, oh, did you break your blade? Like, they just have no concept. If you look at this blade straight on, the opposing bevel, it actually looks crooked, but it's not. It's just the way that the bevels are cut for functionality here. It's a perfectly straight blade that's twisted, almost like a propeller, like an airplane propeller. So this knife, giving you the combination of different blade styles, the N680 steel, which is really corrosion resistant, the addition of your line cutter in there. I mean, just look at the engineering Benchmade went through to make sure you've got jimping over there. So whether you want to hold it with your thumb here with jimping and your finger there for a kind of a pull cut, or if you want to hold it reverse style and get another angle on it, I mean, there's very functional jimping all over this knife here, in the finger choil there, on the back. I don't carry this knife all that often anymore just because, you know, as I rotate my knives out, I have a lot of different ones to choose from. But if I'm ever involved in a convoy or any kind of operation like that, where, you know, I'm going to be called upon as a secondary job, you know, as medical personnel, this one is absolutely coming with me. The only thing I'm not a fan of is this clip. I don't like this clip very much, and that's just a personal thing. A lot of people really do, but fantastic knife. Love this knife, love this knife, love this knife. Your 915, 916 are all going to have the same prices. Retail on the website, $170 for the satin finish, $185 for the black coated, but again, knifeworks.com, $118 sold and shipped. With that being said, this is kind of, you know, I don't want this to be a very long video. Hope you guys like this video. I know it's a little different than what I normally do. So there you go. There's my top 5 Benchmade models in terms of price to value. If you don't agree with me, please, let's talk about it. Post something in the comments. Let me know your opinions on it. If you do agree with me, let's talk about it. Post something in the comments. I get a lot of personal messages and not a lot of comments, and I thought it would be the other way around when I first started posting videos. There's nothing wrong with messages. I will respond to them and I'll read them. I just kind of figured if you've got something to say, why don't you let everybody weigh in on it? But do what you want to do. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back again real soon.